Hello, you're watching the Nouvel Esprit video series on the theology of the body. This video is dedicated to audience 29. We are your hosts. I am Jeremy Hossotter.
And I'm Guillermo Moreno.
So we're going to begin with a little bit of review. That's how JP2 kind of begins some of these audiences is kind of reviewing previous material in order to build up on it. So we know that in Genesis 3, we see that shame appeared within the context of the reciprocal relationship between the first man and the first woman. And because of this appearance of shame, this relationship, this reciprocal relationship underwent a radical transformation. And the fact that shame is born in the heart of man means that we can now examine concupiscence within the context of the communion of persons. And where this is going to lead us now for this audience is a analysis of what JP2 calls the insatiability of the conjugal union. And insatiable means like an appetite or a desire that's impossible to satisfy. You can think of the song by the Rolling Stones, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. That's insatiable, right? You try and you try and satiate it, you try to appease it, and that desire only demands more and more. It's insatiable.
Real quick, Jeremy, if I may.
Yes,
I keep hearing references to that song. I haven't heard it.
it's not a very good song.
It's not.
No.
Okay. I would
It's
have
like a
recommended playing it right now real quick, but scratch
no,
that.
no. It's a
I'll look it up
popular
later.
song. Anyone can find it on YouTube,
Okay, sweet.
but no. All right, here we go. So this we're interested now in looking at this radical transformation in the communion of persons. So the for recall in Genesis 3, the first man woman they looked at each other and they realized they were naked, and so they made some clothes and they hid themselves. Now these facts of shame over their nakedness, their hiding, they all indicate that there's a shattering of the original communicative power of the body and sex. Keep in mind now that sex is not what we mean by the conjugal union. It is, we're referring, it's referred to the masculinity and the femininity of the body for JP2. So sex is not the conjugal act. JP2 uses the conjugal act for the action between a man and a woman. But so sex itself is specifically being referred to the masculinity or femininity of the body. So this change, this transformation in the relationship between the first man, first woman is a negative change because you have this shattering of the original communicative power. And now, because of this, the body and sex no longer, quote, cease to be free from suspicion, end quote, as a substratum for communion. Now, substratum, I will give the Oxford Dictionary here. It means, quote, a foundation or basis of something, end quote. So the body and the masculinity or femininity of that body was the substratum, the foundation for the communion of persons. And now there is a suspicion about the body and its sex, a suspicion about its masculinity or femininity. So this introduction of doubt and suspicion shows that there is a disappearance of the original experience of the first man, first woman before they fell. So, as part of the fruit of original sin, you have this now doubt and suspicion over the body. And the what this leads to then is that now masculinity and femininity in the body are understood and so and are sensed to be in some way a opposition to each other. There is a mutual opposition that appears between masculinity and femininity. Did you have anything you'd like to add, Guillermo?
Not just yet.
Not just yet?
Not
Okay.
just yet.
The substratum. So the body and the sex are the substratum for the communion of persons. We know that in the situation of original innocence, that state of the first man, first woman, before they disobeyed God, this was a one flesh union that's full of power or has the full power of purity, simplicity, and depth. And shame ended this full power. And so shame represents a loss in the certainty that the body, through its masculinity or femininity, is precisely the substratum for the communion of persons. So this doubt, this suspicion, one element of this is that now the body and its masculinity or femininity is no longer identified with the communion of persons. And in fact, the sensation of sexuality and sexuality itself now appears as if they were an obstacle to this communion. So you have suspicion, you have doubt, and now there appears to be a tension between them, as if masculinity or femininity is now an obstacle to the communion of persons. Go ahead and speak up, Guillermo, when you're ready.
Excellent. Yes. So one thing that I got out of reading this audience is thinking in terms of a second discovery or a rediscovery of sex. And I think an analogy is the way Adam realized the meaning of his body. It was kind of like in stages, in a manner of speaking, first in light of just being created and in light of the rest of the living organisms that God created. And little by little, he started realizing who he was. And that reached its fulfillment when he met Eve. He realized the meaning of his body. He discovered the complete meaning of his body. Now we can take this new experience with concupiscence as a second discovery or a rediscovery of sexuality with this new experience, which as you pointed out, it's not helping. It's an obstacle to the full meaning of the body, but it's still a new discovery that, well, here's the experience of it. It hasn't lost its meaning, but there's that change basically. And yeah, that's the best way I could put it. It's just a change in the way we experience it. And the way it's being described here, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's I'd be redundant if I
All right. So I guess to make sure I understand what you're getting at, you're saying that you have this change in our experiencing of the body, but we can still in some way experience the original meaning of the body and its sex through the communion of persons.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And just, yeah, just now concupiscence is something that's new there that um doesn't change the meaning of the body, but the experience,
Right. So the meaning of the body isn't changed, but
not at all.
our encounter with that body
Okay,
is now a source of conflict.
that's a better way to put it. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And it's the source of conflict because of concupiscence.
Precisely.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Guillermo.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, that conflict with concupiscence is, I believe, a theme of an upcoming audience.
Okay.
A deeper dimension. Oh, maybe it's now. So let's see here. Shame emphasizes a detachment of love. So, as Guillermo has pointed out, in other terms, concupiscence introduces a difficulty with identifying one's own body in the sphere of his or her subjectivity and the subjectivity of the other person. This leads the first man, first woman to hide themselves. This indicates a lack of trust between them. And this lack of trust points to a collapse of the original relationship. And so this all indicates that there's a deeper dimension to be found in the difference between the man of concupiscence and the man of innocence. So concupiscence introduces a difficulty in identifying with one's body and in terms of his or her personhood. Recall that subjectivity is that which is most proper to the person, what makes a person a person. When we talk about self-consciousness, self-knowledge, reason, free will, self-determination, all these concepts are essentially part of subjectivity. And now concupiscence introduces a difficulty of the human identity, the personal or the person, the I, from identifying with the body. And the body is not just a body, but it's a sexualized being. It has its masculinity or femininity. So concupiscence introduces a twofold difficulty in the person identifying his or her personal identity with his or her body and either masculinity or femininity. So that is one of the fruits of concupiscence, and we certainly see that today with like the transgender movement. Just this difficulty in identifying one's body as being either masculine or feminine. That is a fruit of concupiscence and something we Catholics need to be careful of while engaging in these moral questions of today. Did you have anything else you'd like to add, Guillermo?
I don't.
Okay. In that case, thank you for watching our video. If you have been enjoying our content, please subscribe to our social media, like, share, comment. We have all sorts of social media such as YouTube. If you would like to make a financial donation, you can do so through either PayPal or Patreon. And your financial support goes towards maintaining our website and towards purchasing of resources so that we can continue doing our research. On our website, you can find many great articles written by Guillermo and myself and our podcast. Do you have more information about our podcast, Guillermo?
Yep. Yes, on our other podcast. Well, it's La Nouvel Esprit, but in the other series, we talk about other topics such as culture, trends in culture and politics, always through from a Catholic personalist perspective. Now, we upload our episodes onto buzzsprout.com, and you can find the link to our page on the La Novella Esprit website. And you can listen to us directly on Buzzsprout and you can use Buzzsprout as well to find us on any of the most popular platforms for listening to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify.
All right. Thank you, Guillermo.
Mhm.
Um, just in case you are wondering where at is all the social media, you can go to www.nouvelesprit.com/subscribe. All of our social media can be found there, including the podcast distribution websites. Do you have any last comments, Guillermo?
I would just like to ask our viewers and listeners to keep us and our mission in your prayers.
Yes, please continue praying for us. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye.
Bye, everyone. God bless.